Hello, fellow human! Welcome back to another Dank Dogo r slash entitled parents videos. So, when do you guys plan to have kids in the future? Or that's like way too far off and you guys haven't given it a thought? Or you already had like 3 or 4 of them? The first story is by the TA Pie. You don't have kids, you should pay me! I had an acquaintance who I would go to yoga with often. We started going to lunch after our workout. It was fun. We would sit on this amazing balcony and relax, and have our lunch while we talk about everything that had gone on that week. The first week, the waiter gave me the bill, and without a second thought, I just paid it. Normally, I've done the payment, I get this time, and you get the next time thing. Only issue is, the second time, the waitress handed it straight to me again. I look at my friend, who started getting her things ready to go, and I again just pay it. Also slightly confused and clearly bothered. Then the third time before the same thing happened, I asked the waitress the reason I kept getting the full bill from her. I asked while my dining partner was away. The waitress looked uncomfortable and stated that my friend each time told her I was paying. I told the waitress to please split the bill and no such arrangement had been made. My friend returned to the table, ordered another drink, and asked the waitress for my bill so I could be checked out. She brought both our bills and I pulled out my debit card to pay for my part. I owed $12.32, much more manageable for my budget, and my friend bill was $38.24, about average of her last 2 bills. My friend looked at the waitress confused. Oh no, I'm not paying for that. Put it on her tab. I looked at her with question. Excuse me? I never agreed to that. You paid the last 2 times? I know I did. That is why I am surprised you're not paying for me this time. That is when she said the annoying words. I have kids, you don't. You can afford it. Excuse me? I said this clearly offended. If you cannot afford it, why are you consistently ordering 3 times my bill? I glared at her. Looked at me smugly and said, you know, I don't get to go out much. I deserve this. I was so frustrated. Yeah, you deserve it, but not on my dime. Also, you go out all the time. She called me selfish and clarified that she had no card or money to pay for her part, and her and the server had some words. The waitress said she needed payment from one of us, or the police would be called. It was clarified by her, even if I personally tried to leave, the police would be called. The waitress was super mean to both M and I was uncomfortable and angry, because this had nothing to do so with me. I just sat next to this girl, and I paid M's parts of the bill and left a note and a 0% tip on my receipt. I stopped talking to M. M made it a point to tell everyone in class she was so confused, did not understand what the problem was, and found me selfish considering it was only $38. I stopped going to that studio, which, if you ever read this, I hope you choke. The restaurant called and asked if they could do anything. I just told them to train staff. Regarding checkout procedures, it was an odd situation for me. I was uncomfortable, and I feel threatening the police on me for food and drink that I did not order or touch was uncalled for. I never went back. Summary, M tells waitress I'm paying behind my back, tells me she deserves it because she has kids and I do not, get 3 free lunches, police almost called 3rd time, and she feels victimized. You should have just left. You paid for your stuff, not your problem anymore. We have here the second story written by u/Claria number 6. My dad felt my savings should go to my brother. So this happened a couple years ago, but it still just hurts. My dad and I have never really seen eye to eye. He grew up with no sister and an awful mother figure. And none of his friends have daughters, only sons. I don't blame him for struggling to raise a girl when he had absolutely no reference point. But he didn't need to show blatant favoritism towards my brother. I've always been the black sheep a little. My parents and younger brother have always been this nice little trio. And my brother is a mummy's boy, but dad dotes on him regardless. He's 4 years younger than me. I'm 18 and he's 14. I've struggled to find my place in the family. Even my standing as which sibling, I'm not certain. because my dad accidentally had my half-brother at 19 and I was born 14 years later. My older brother was enough in my life that I don't feel like the oldest child, but not enough to feel like the middle. I'm just dad's retrial at parenting, and my brother is the beneficiary of all his practice. Now, aside from that little rant, the actual story. My brother and I are very musical. I play a multitude of instruments. He just plays saxophones, and he's good, always has been. He suffered classic younger sibling syndrome. We were in a much better financial position when I began playing clarinet, that I got a really good beginner intermediate model that I still play today. When he started about 4 years later, things had gotten tight, so he had to rent his from the local concert band, and it wasn't great. Originally, it was fine because my parents didn't want to invest something he might not commit to, but he did and loved it. At this point, I was 15, and I would be working for 2 years at a local sports club earning less than minimum wage. Because I was underage, working my butt off, and saving a pretty hefty percentage of my income. My father, who felt responsible for my job since he knew the owner. But I'd actually gotten the job myself and decided he was entitled to my savings, about $500 at the time. His exact words were, "We could use your savings to buy your brothers a better saxophone." God, it crushed me. First of all, you cannot get a sax better than the one he has for only $500. And secondly, what kind of father asks one child to give up practically 2 years of work for another? It made me feel like he had more pride or hope for his son that his daughter's savings should contribute towards it. Even though at the time, I was saving for a student-level clarinet and he knew that. He never offered to pay the money back or anything, and thankfully, after I asked my mom what she thought of it, she lost her mind. It was never brought up again. Though he has asked for my savings since, then I've said no. Can't wait to move out next year. Well, at least the mother still stood by OP's side and prevented the entitled father's toxic behavior. Next up, we have the third story shared by u/Milkshake Pirate. M tries to stop me getting into my home, gets owned. Context: I live in the center of a town that does a yearly half marathon. The marathon route basically traps me in my building, as it goes on the roads around it, which I need to cross to reach the rest of the town. It has been taking place years and was here before me, so I'm not bothered by it. I just avoid leaving my building until most of the runners have gone. On this day, I had an errand to run, but was going out in the afternoon, so was forced to push through the crowds on the pavements and then to wait and cross through the runners. I managed to get to the shops and do what I needed to do. On my way back, it started hailing a crazy amount. Huge stones that made the ground look like it had been snowed on. Spectators were sheltering underneath shop awnings, including the one above the door to my building, where a mom and her 2 young children were standing. Cast: me, Mighty Elmo. M, Evil Mutton. Me: excuse me, sorry. So British. Can I just quickly get through? M looks absolutely furious. Now, find your own spot, we're standing here. Fair enough, the door isn't too obvious. Me: oh no, I actually just live in this building, so I just need to get through that door. Me: I don't think so. These are offices and I work in them. Don't try and fool me and my girls into moving for you. They are not offices, so Lord knows why she would say that. She's still in my way. Me: I really do live here. Look, I have my key and can open this door. M: no, can you just piss off and go somewhere else? She's being very loud, so everyone nearby can hear and is staring. Me: look, I really do just want to get into my home. Everyone is looking at us now, so if I'm just trying to get you out of the way. I don't think they'll put up with it, do you? M: fine. Remember, everyone is looking. She moves, so I put my keys in my door, and quilla surprise, it opens. I give M a little wave as I walk through, and clock a couple of onlookers stifling some laughter. After that, M immediately walks off with her 2 daughters into the hill. TLDR, M blocks my entry into my blocks of flats, looks like a fool when I successfully open my front door. It's a little creepy that she works in your home. Moving on to the fourth story shared by u/June Sun. EP thinks they deserve my plane seat. This happened a few months ago. I was flying one of these cheap airlines where the seats are all crammed up together. So I paid extra for a seat with more legroom, which also gave me a priority boarding. Usually don't care for that, but when you've got is a cabin bag getting on early, so I don't have to keep it under the seat is worth waiting in the plane. After being one of the first people on board, the plane is now pretty much fully boarded. Enter M, entitled mom, and S, son, about 12 I would guess. I see them talking to a crew member for a while, but go back listening to my music when I feel a tap on my shoulder, so I remove my headphones. S, hey, I'm flying with my mom, and was wondering if you could swap seats with her, so we could sit together. I look over to where his mom is sitting, and it's a standard seat. Me, no, I'm sorry. Kid looks a bit defeated, but walks away. I put my headphones in, and start to relax when I hear a loud voice. M, excuse me? Me, yes? M, me and my son need your seat as he's scared of flying, so we need to sit together. Me, I'm sorry to hear that, but I paid extra for a seat with extra leg room, so I won't be switching to a standard seat. EP, you're sitting next to the only open seat, you have to swap with me. Me, starting to get annoyed, she won't take a no for an answer. No I don't, and if you needed to sit together, you should have paid extra to choose your seats. Not bad that you can switch seats later. EP, clearly starting to get agitated. I can't afford to pay extra for that. Just because you're rich doesn't mean everyone is. I'm a parent, so I have to save money. Now swap seats! Not sure how rich I have to be to afford the 5 to 15 euros if cost to select a seat, but alright. I'm really starting to get annoyed. She won't leave me alone. Me, I'm not going to swap with you. Now please leave me alone. EP raising her voice even more. The stewardess said you have to swap so we can sit together now. Do what she said and move. I've had enough, so I can hit the flight crew button. And the same woman that were talking earlier comes over. FC, how can I help you? Me, this lady wants to swap seats with me, and she said you told... I get interrupted by M now yelling. He won't move! You told us he had to swap seat with us! Now make him move! FC giving me a supportive look and mouths, I'm sorry. She turns to M. I told you this is the only open seat, so if you want to sit together, you could ask him if he's okay with swapping. Not that you could force him to move. If he doesn't want to swap with you, you'll have to take your assigned seat. M. I have to sit with my son. You have to get this crap to move or sit us somewhere else. I'm going to sue you and delay this plane. FC, if you had to sit next to each other, you should have paid to select seats. Now, I've had enough of your tone, and you will either stop bothering this man and go back to your seat, or I'll have the captain deplane you. M looks like she's going to explode. She stands there for a moment before turning around, heading back to her seat, mumbling something. The captain calls out the cabin crew, prepare for takeoff message, and I start to let go of the tension that built up. FC smiling. Is this seat taken? I can't help but laugh as she sits down. FC, I'm so sorry about that when I told him to ask you. I didn't think this is what would happen. I told her it was fine, and we had a pretty nice chat during takeoff until she went back to do her job. She also gave me a free drink once service started. So despite the annoying start, it turned into a pretty nice flight. It's 15 euros, it's not like it's a ridiculously large amount of money, so what does rich has anything to do with it? The fifth story is shared by u/mental illness 420. Lady tells me to cover up at the beach because I'm distracting her son. I'm at the beach with a couple of my friends before Corona, and I'm wearing a new bikini I had just bought, so there I am, just lying down in the sun when this lady comes and stands over me. Obviously, I'm confused, so I ask her if there is a problem, and when she tells me I need to cover up my chest, I will admit I'm a very endowed in that era, because I am distracting her son, who looks to be about roughly my age. I tell her that I'm not going to cover up as it is my body, and I will wear what I want to wear. And that if I'm distracting her son, well, that seems to be like her problem. And maybe she should teach her son to respect girls and not to stare at them. She did not seem to like this at all. and she started to scream at me in the middle of the beach, telling me that I'm a bad influence on young girls and that she hopes I never have children because they would turn out to be like me, and that I'm disrespecting mothers all around the world because apparently I'm just trying to seduce their sons. I'm literally 17, like what the duck? Eventually her son comes over and drags her away, but I was just laughing it off. But it made me think, why did her son not come over any sooner to drag her away? Well, I guess he was probably not expecting his mother to go full Karen mode. The final story is shared by /Crazy Lucky Charm. You have only one kid, I have 3, let me cut you in line for the plane, I don't care if you miss it. So this mom with a teen, a kid, and a baby in the line for the luggage check-in started telling everyone to let her cut in line because I have 3 children to take care of. Why can't you make it easy for a hustling mother? She then got to where me and my mom were and started yelling at us to let her cut in line. We didn't let her because we were already late. My mom told her, I understand that you have 3 kids and whatnot, but we've been standing in line just as long as you, if not longer. And we're about to miss the plane, so stop it. The entitled mother then proceeded to shout at my mom for about 5 minutes straight as my mom shut her up in the middle. We just shrug it off and keep on going. Our flight was delayed, so we had some time. A little while later, I find a passport on the floor which looked like it belonged to M. Her name was then called on the PA, telling her to urgently board her flight because it was about to take off. She missed her flight. I simply put her passport in the lost and found. Probably more than I would have done in the same situation. I think I would have pretended not to see it. Poor planning on your part does not mean an emergency make on my part. Man, talk about karma strikes again. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.